All right, thank you all for being here for our April Board of Education meeting. And I'll now ask that we bring the meeting to order, and I'll ask the roll be called, please.
Booth. Here. Bozeman.
Here.
Dishon.
Here.
Hillshouser.
Here.
Park.
Here.
Reed. Here. Zawin.
Here.
Well, we all please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, we had a lot of nice young guests here to help us do the pledge today. Thank you all so much. You sounded lovely. Thank you. All right, the board will now move into the public participation portion of the meeting, and Dr. Parker will begin with the superintendent's report.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our April meeting. As you'll notice, we have our new technology here installed for tonight, which is hopefully going to start to solve some of our technology issues that we've had in the past. So thank you to Mr. Jensen for all of his work with this. And we'll start with our safety minute. I need to make sure I have volunteers to call 911, first aid responders, and volunteers who are also certified in CPR. If you could raise your hand, please. Thank you very much. Our exits are off to my right and my left, and the AED machine is in our main hallway. Well, tonight marks a very special night for Paul Park, who has served on our Board of Education for the last 8 years. And let's give him a round of applause. Paul told me that he did not want a reception, but I didn't ask him if it was okay for me to talk about him, and so I decided this is how I would give him the recognition that he so deserves. But Paul, I want to thank you for your dedication for our school district. You've truly shown what it takes to be an outstanding board member. You've been a leader, you've been a board member, and you've shown that you can be both at the same time. You've been a very positive influence to the school district, and when I think about all the things that you have accomplished or had the pleasure of helping everyone accomplish in the last 8 years. You should be very proud of the time and the dedication that you took. So with that, I want to thank you and wish you the best. And you're always welcome here in the Dunlap High School.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah. Yes, and offer any other board members who want to say something, just a few seconds.
He's a good tennis player, too.
But, yeah.
Steve, he might be able to beat you.
But Paul's been a great board member, just a very responsible board member, thinks about everybody and everything that we do. And we make some tough decisions here, and they're not always the most popular decisions. But with Paul here, there have always been well thought out decisions, and ones that make a lot of sense, and ones that are very, very creative in his thought process, and that he tries to be very practical and think about all the different areas that may be involved. So it's been an honor to work beside you, and I appreciate it. 8 years is a long time, so I'm sure you're going to celebrate, but we really appreciate you being here. And you won't be too far, though. We'll be able to call on you. Did anybody else want to say anything?
Well, I certainly think Dawn has covered anything, and if we had prior notice, I would have put together a slideshow. But I mean, it has been. Us three have been together actually through quite a lot, and this has been nice. Paul's been a good sounding board, and he's a good listener, and it has been a pleasure both from a work experience and personally to get to know you. And I will miss seeing you, but I still see you in church, so thank you.
Yeah, I second all that, and actually, Paul, I was going to give this to you after the meeting, but I think it's worthwhile presenting this to you in front of everyone, because he's an authentic leader, and he could have written this book. I mean, he's the true north for the school board, and he's authentic and trustworthy, and he always has the mission of our students' best interest at heart in any decision he makes, and that's something we all need to aspire to, so look for you.
All right, thank you.
Something to do on all your extra time now. Wednesday nights. So thanks again, Paul. Thank you for all you've done for this school district. All right.
Thank you. So moving forward, I would like to congratulate Cheryl Bluth and Karen Disharoon and for being re-elected to the board, and also congratulations to Abby Humbles, who will join us on April 27th. So that will be our new board of education. I'm going going to do things just a little differently tonight. As you'll see, we have a large crowd with us, and I've asked some of our building principals to come forward and recognize their staff who received grants, and I promised them I would do it right at the beginning of the meeting. And so I'm going to start with Mrs. Berg and have her come forward, please, with her staff.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I'm very honored to introduce some of my staff members. They won Spirit Bank Awards back in December, so it seems like a long time ago, but I just wanted to recognize them tonight. We had Ashley Seppin, and she wrote a grant for $400 to add sensory materials to her classroom. That's something that's really important to us at Wilder Wade, and especially in kindergarten where you've got lots of wiggles. And so she's added those materials to her classroom. And also our ESL team of Sarah Urbank and Tori Williamson and Maysoon Mohammed, they wrote a grant and actually received $1,150 for supplemental ESL materials. And probably as you remember from our report, we have quite a few ESL students, so we were happy to get those materials to support their learning. So I'd just like to congratulate and recognize them tonight.
Thank you. How about Mr. Fairchild?
Explain this a little bit. I'd like to congratulate Amy Winkleman. She earned a $400 scholarship, grant through Spirit Bank as well. And she kind of thought globally. She wasn't just thinking of her kids, but she was thinking of the entire building, a need that we have. She called it a sensory library, and we house a lot of these materials in our counselor's office. But there's fidget toys for those kids that need to move, and then this is just an example. It's a seat for kids. It's really just a ball on a pedestal, and I have not tested the weight limit, but I've heard that I could sit on it, but I'm not going to. But anyway, we're very thankful. A lot of the teachers have checked out these items from our counselor due to Amy's hard work for earning this grant. So I'd like to congratulate Amy Winkleman.
And I'll ask Mr. Etnier and his staff from Hickory Grove to come forward, please.
All right. I'm a little nervous tonight. I don't have a prop or a dog with me, but I do have 6 wonderful teachers that I'm going to recognize tonight. All right, at Hickory Grove this year we had 6 teachers that wrote and received grants, and I'd like to recognize them for going above and beyond to be able to purchase items for their classroom to enhance the learning experience for their students. I'm going to start out with Stacy Combs. Stacy received 2 grants this year. Both of them were Donors Choose grants. One was for flexible seating in the amount of $655, and that was so successful she submitted a second grant for some sensory materials for her kindergarten room for $307. So congratulations to Stacy. Next I have Beth Bergsnyder, who received a Donors Choose grant in the amount of $477 to purchase mentor text to support writing in the classroom. Next we have Mrs. Gina Werkheiser. She also received a Donors Choose award in the amount of $427 for sensory materials and flexible seating. Next I have Mrs. Monica Polk, and Monica received a new grant to us this year that we're very excited about. It was from the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, and it's a schoolyard habitat action grant. And she received $891, and her class will be working with the Department of Natural Resources to create a habitat area at the park that is located just behind Hickory Grove. They're going to be planting some native plants and grasses and flowers as part of a display that will be set up over there. We have Maysoon Mohammed, and she was also recognized as a part-time staff member at Wilder Wade, but we also have her a little more than halftime this year at Hickory Grove, and so congratulations to her on her Spear Bank grant. One teacher that wasn't able to be here tonight, Kara Prohaska, our Bright Futures pre-K teacher, she received a Donors Choose grant for $1,365 to purchase STEM materials for the pre-K classroom. I'd also like to recognize that it was through PNC picked up the cost of that grant through her for Donors Choose. In total, it was $5,272 for Hickory Grove. So please give them a round of applause.
Thank you. Next one, Mrs. Ellis.
I have two staff members this year that received grants. The first is Mrs. Andrews, our technology teacher, and her stunning assistant, Mr. Milo. Mrs. Andrews was in my office one day just talking about how she wanted to explore coding in the classroom, and we had suggested doing a Donors Choose, and it wasn't but 30 minutes later that I saw the link come through my email, and the next day her project was funded, and it was so successful that she then launched an additional grant project for Wilder Waite, so she received funding for both of those schools. And during park testing, our lab has been closed, and she's gone mobile and been able to provide meaningful experiences in coding for all of our students, K-5, and I've been able to see some of those really cool things, and they're pretty awesome, aren't they, guys? Yeah. So congratulations to Mrs. Andrews for that. I don't think it's going to be her last. I think she's caught the bug on that one. Mrs. Weiss has also submitted a Donors Choose grant for library texts for her classroom. And what's unique about Mrs. Weiss is this is her third year in the district, and her each year she's had a Donors Choose grant to beef up the supplies in her classroom. In addition, she's self-funded through donations of friends, families, and others a trip to the Ron Clark Academy in Atlanta. And for those of you that have followed him, he was a Disney Teacher of the Year, has been very successful, very transformative in the Atlanta area and bringing some new innovative ideas, and she got to experience that firsthand. So I'd like to recognize both Mrs. Weiss and Mrs. Andrews. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, Dr. Parker. And thank you for all of you and everything that you do for the district and for our students. We'll now move into public participation. Is there anyone who would wish to address the board at this time? Anyone who'd like to come up and sign in? All right. Okay, seeing no one, we'll go ahead and conclude the public participation portion of the meeting. And we'll now move into information and discussion items. Board, the first item you had on your agenda list here for information and discussion was school activity reports. And there was information in your board packet. Were there any questions regarding the school activity reports? All right, the second item we have is information regarding the high school random drug testing report for the month of March. It was available in your packet, and Mr. Adrian is with us. Is he here with us? Okay. We have someone from the high school assistant principal. Ms. Mason?
Is Scott here or no? What again are we testing for? We test for a number of things, right? The drug test, is it a...
I do not have that list in front of me, but it's an extensive
But there's
list.
not just one, somebody... It's a panel.
It's a panel,
right?
yeah.
You can't just say we're testing for one thing, right?
No.
All right, any other questions regarding the March results? Okay. The third thing we have is Mrs. Ellis and her instructional team, who are going to present an overview of Dunlap Grade School with us tonight. It looks like she's got lots of helpers here, and they've stepped out for us.
We were told at the beginning of the year that there were some specific things to present, so I'm going to do that, but then I'm going to quickly turn it over to our students and our families because I feel like they are really the stars of Dunlap grade. Just focusing on our instructional leadership team members, we do have a leader from each grade level, and they're represented here, and many of them are here with us tonight. And we really thrive with the philosophy that the magic is in the people and not the program. So we function as a team and a family, and I think you'll see that tonight through what our students are here to say. I did want to share our park scores. Within the second year, we did see some marked improvement, and our students are finalizing their park testing this week with our third graders, finishing ELA this week, and we're really looking forward to getting those results this summer. So that was all, because that's all that I was told to do as part. And talk about our instructional leadership team. And the rest of our school goals and everything are really going to be shared by the 12 students that are behind me now. And I'm going to go over there and help them a little bit. And we'll start with Miss Emma.
At Dunlap Grade School, we are rules. Rules, respect, you others, your, and learning. The goals at Dunlap Grade are to develop a culture of readers and an environment of math learners. We love to get books from our school book club and learn math in fun and new ways. On our birthdays, we get to choose a birthday book from the office. We love our new free little library outside, and reading emergency bookshelves are all around the school. Our mission is to develop as lifelong learners. One way I'm a lifelong learner is by competing in our second grade Poetic Ninja Quest. I read comments by other students and respond to them on a blog. We do this at home a lot and learn.
I am a lifelong learner when I research science concepts in Genius Hour. We can research topics that are of personal interest to ourselves. I find aquatic creatures fascinating. Pickleback fish are interesting because they look like an eel. They breathe oxygen. There are many science and geography concepts that I like to explore.
Being a royal learner at DGS is fun. Some things we are able to do at Dunlap Grade School are explore more day. You get to do fun activities in different classrooms. We learn about everything from how to do stage makeup to learning about Abraham Lincoln from the man himself. We also get to play with Teddy, our school dog, and Mrs. Martin. They come into our room and we read with Teddy and write with Teddy and Mrs. Martin. We get to pet him. It makes me feel happy when you are learning to have fun.
Being able to have recess is really fun. I like to play basketball with my friends. We also celebrate Global School Play Day. On this day, we bring in games and learn through play. We even get to race cars in the hall. Our Parents Club does a lot of fun things for us. We love the book fair and carnival. The parents really get us excited to be at school.
But learning is also serious business. I really like trying new things. One of the things I've been able to try in 4th grade is competing in our spelling bee. I loved when everyone clapped for each other and was encouraging and smiling. In math, we use different tools to make sure our learning is hands-on. We use everything from protractors and measuring tapes to Chromebooks to learn concepts in math.
I like when we do projects. As 4th graders, we completed a famous person project
We researched and wrote a speech and dressed up as our famous person. We presented it to the whole school. In science, we studied mealworms. We observed them in many ways as they went through the life cycle. My favorite part is when we let them go in the nature garden. Now that I am almost ready for middle school, what I am going to miss most about Dunlap Grade School is I'm going to miss all the experiences that I learned from that weren't always related to schoolwork. For example, I have learned that you can help others in different ways. We helped to raise money for the service dogs like Teddy. The special staff also made learning fun. I am going to miss my art, music, and technology classes. It is in those classes that I was able to create memories.
I'm going to miss the teachers and staff. They are smart, fun, and nice. They're also very creative. They have made a lasting impact on me that I will always remember. It taught me not only academic skills, but also what it means to be a Royal.
Leaving DGS on the final day would be sad, but I also know that I am ready for what the next adventure at DVMS holds for me.
We will always be a Royal.
Good evening. I'm Amy Stahl, and I have been a parent of a Dunlap Grade School Royal since the fall of 2009 and a member of the DGS family. I have been active in Parents Club and have served as president for the past 2 years. When I thought about what to share with you tonight from all my experiences with the DGS staff, both as a parent and also as a Parents Club officer, there is one day in particular that sticks out in my mind. Mrs. Ellis started as DGS principal in 2012. When our son Ian, who's now in 7th grade at DVMS, was in 3rd grade. Ian has a severe allergy to all nuts, and several other environmental allergies. Less than a month into Mrs. Ellis's start as DGS principal, Ian had a severe allergic reaction. It was the quick thinking of Jenny Hatch and Samantha Mart, who recognized and knew Ian well enough to know that something was not quite right. And then again, the quick thinking of Lisa Cannon and Mrs. Ellis to immediately contact me, which helped to save Ian's life. This is what I was told in the hospital that day in the ER. But this isn't the only thing that stuck in my mind from that day. I had to attend a church meeting that night, and when I got out of the meeting, I had a voicemail from Mrs. Ellis. She had called to check on Ian to make sure he was doing okay. This was after I had already called the school that afternoon to let her know he was fine. And she wasn't just checking to make sure he was okay. She wanted to talk with me to see what we could do to help prevent this from happening to Ian again, to make sure he would be fine. This type of caring and commitment to the well-being of the students of DGS extends through all the teachers and staff. They see students not just as students, but as children who are part of the DGS family. And they get to know each and every individual student, to know what is best for their education, as well as their social well-being, to empower them to reach their individual potential. They empower the students by having a thirst for knowledge to learn about new ways to educate the students, whether it be through staff book studies, meeting to share new ideas from conferences they've attended, or brainstorming ways at the first institute of the school year, before the students even walk in the door on the first day of school, on how they can reach every unique student and teach them to be lifelong learners. I feel very blessed that our children have had the opportunity to attend Dunlap Grade School. And as I have told many people, when our daughter Emma has her last day at DGS in 3 years, it will be like leaving a family behind.
We're gonna try that one more time. We say every day after announcements, what do we say, guys?
Go be royal!
Nice job. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for the treats that you provided.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing your information, too. Thank you. presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mrs. Ellis, and thank you for the nice treats that you provided for all the board members. Thank you. Okay, board, we'll now move into our next item. We have information regarding handbooks that was available in your packet for review. Mrs. Beverly is here to answer any questions that we may have. And who did we have for representative for the handbooks?
Primarily Mrs. Beverly.
Okay.
Mrs. Bowman could answer any questions on the Chromebook handbook.
Okay. All right. Okay. Was anything outstanding that you wanted to mention regarding handbooks? I know there were some questions that went back and forth, and
I think all of the questions that were asked, we sent back out answers to all of the board members, with answers, clarifying questions or wording and things like that. Are there any other questions?
And the handbooks will be available for parents as they come in online?
These are employee handbooks.
Okay.
So the Chromebook handbook,
Right.
yes, will be available online. The other handbooks are all for employees.
Absolutely. This first year, because it's new, we're going to be holding a bunch of meetings at the beginning of the year, and those will be distributed in hard copy for the first year, just to make sure that everybody has a chance to have that in front of them. Of course, as we move down the line with the rollout, then those will be moved electronically, but we wanted to make sure, with it being the first time that those are out there, that those are distributed and given some explanation along with them, because I know there'll be questions.
It'll be online regardless?
Absolutely, yes, to access, yes.
Right, okay, all right.
And somewhere in there it mentioned that every student's Chromebook has a tag number.
Correct.
And that the parent should write it down, but I'm assuming when you guys issue the Chromebook, you're
Right,
also.
absolutely.
Okay.
We will have record of all of that, but it
Who
was
has
just
it?
as a double check for them, just to make sure, let's say you're at school and all of a sudden you get home, you wonder, is this my Chromebook or not? That would be an
Right.
easy thing for them to check without having to have somebody come in and scan it for them. And of course, we always can if need be, but it's just kind of a backup measure.
Sure.
Okay, was there any other questions, board, regarding the handbooks that were available in the packet? Okay, thank you, ladies, thank you very much.
There's
All
a
right.
lot of work there.
Yeah, lots of work, thank you.
A lot of detail.
Oh, so I want to say one thing about the handbooks, but I don't know if anyone is here. I mean, this has been a long process. I mean, this has been like 6 years they started, and I remember department by department getting up and sitting up, and you saw the SMART goals and the total buy-in. And I think in the second paragraph of every book is a statement of what each department is responsible for, and that no matter how small you think your part is, that it's absolutely huge. Just the lunch ladies and the bus drivers, it's the first smile, it's having a bad day, and the lunch lady maybe noticing it and give you a little more mashed potatoes. The kids remember that, and it makes their day. So make sure you tell all the people that they're appreciated and they are important.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
And the work on the handbooks too. I think just in the last 2 years.
Well, the
It's gone
revisions.
from one to now all of these, so that's an incredible amount of work.
Yeah, and to Beth's point, the welcome is very nice. It's just kind of warm language, and it's very much good for any staff person that would be reading that for the first time. So thank you so much for your work on that, appreciate it. Okay, if there's no other questions, we'll move on to the next item, which was the regular board meeting dates for 2017-18 school year. Were there any questions regarding to those dates? Nothing out of the ordinary other than, I think there's one maybe, is there one in December?
I had one question. So a couple years ago, we had actually changed the board meeting to the third Wednesday of the month. It used to be the second. I just want to ask how that's going, if it's working, that's where you like it.
We do. I mean, we switched all of our billing, and that took, a couple of months, I think, to get that straightened out, to get everything on the same. Yeah.
On the financial year reports, because we don't get the financial reports until the first or second week. So it's a quick turnaround even in week 3, but in week 2 it was very, very, very.
Okay, well, good to know.
And the December 20th is okay with everybody?
This would be the time that if there's been a real stressful time that you really want to look at maybe changing the date of a meeting, it'd be a good time to
I don't think we would want to change the week, only because our billing is now, they're all on the same cycle, but I'll leave that up to Karen.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to change the week. I mean, if there's a holiday or something that falls in, that would be something I would not change it on a regular basis. I think, Karen, was your question about December 20th?
I most likely wouldn't be here for that.
Is school still in session then? I think.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
When is the break?
I think it's the 22nd.
I guess if anyone else has that, we still have a month, right, to approve that. So if you have something
Well,
in the
we'll approve
meantime.
this on the 27th when we do the new board. You have to do that same night.
All right, any other questions for tonight on that? Okay. The next item we have is regarding the board policies that were available for your review, and the revisions are for information discussion only at this time, and we'll take action on these policy revisions at the May board meeting. Were there any other outstanding questions?
Mrs. Beverland was going to speak for a few minutes on the social media policies.
I wanted to say something too. I know when the policy first came into being, there was a lot of question, and there should have been, right, by the DEA. And so I finally, over the course of the month, like took it apart, sentence by sentence, footnote by footnote, to see what really changed. And I wrote a couple notes down, and what it really seemed to do is condense. Like it took the best practices that already align with our current policies, and it just focused on social media. So I know Karen thought we shouldn't be policing the teachers and such, and I don't think at all that's what it's really meant to do.
Which ones are they? Can you just tell me which numbers so I can?
5125.
Okay.
It says new right next to it.
5136.
And then when I came across, it seemed to be just all about the students, mostly. That they want to, whatever you can do to protect the students. If the student can get a hold of something and see things, you want to avoid like immoral behavior is what it used. So, what is ever harmful to minors, whether it be crude, offensive, indecent language, is what they were really looking at, not what you're doing personally. And there's a fine line,
Can I ask how many school districts have implemented a policy such as this?
I do not know the answer.
I don't know the answer to that. The policy came from press, so it's a pretty typical policy as far as social media goes, but I don't know the
As far
exact.
as for the teachers?
Did they say that it was optional, the policy, because there's no case law?
It was recommended by our attorney to adopt it, yeah.
So we don't know of many schools that have implemented this?
I do not have the number, but he said that a large amount that he represents do have a social media policy. Yeah, but I didn't ask for the exact number.
The original social media policy came out, and I think there were some questions about the original one that came to you guys late last fall, with concerns about how will this be monitored and what are the consequences and what does it cover. We met with DEA to discuss those concerns, and at the same time we talked with Jay. So the policy that you have, that's the press policy. The policy that we had before is actually the policy that Jay had written for several school districts. And it was a little bit more detailed than we necessarily wanted it to be, and to work with the teachers to make sure that we were covering what we need to for the district, to protect the teachers, to protect the students, and protect the district, but at the same time not make it look like somebody's watching over their shoulder to what's happening. And the whole point of the policy is to protect everybody. It's got nothing, nobody's looking for a reason.
The DEA is on board with this?
The DEA is on board with this policy as far as we met with them. Dawn, Lisa, Heather, and I met with them, and I don't know that they love it, but they're on board with as far as this goes much.
One of my concerns with the first policy is under number 1, it refers to the Code of Educator Ethics. I'm trying to pull up that email you sent me with a copy of it, but
If you just Google Illinois Educator Code of Ethics, it's part of the administrative procedures from the state board, and it basically just talks about, and I don't know them off the top of my head.
It's really broad, and what worries me is that you could look at that and say, oh, somebody's violating it because they put something on their social media. And I guess I just don't feel comfortable with us having that sort of policing where it's so general and broad, the guidelines for the Code of Educator Ethics. And also in the next policy, it seems more broad. Having to write, I'm an employee of District 323 and these opinions are my own. I just think that's a little too much.
Does the DEA, do they have anything for their own, that they developed for their own?
Not that I'm
No,
aware.
not that we're,
Not
not
that
that
I'm
I haven't seen anything.
So, all these, okay, so I have too many papers in front of me. The policy. Within that policy, there are many different policies. And so it seemed, even though, say, if we would not adopt this policy, still all the policies within it have already been adopted. So either way,
The only difference is that now you can go look on somebody's social media and say, aha, you said this.
well, and hopefully, I mean, so there's a common sense clause in here. And so you would hope that people wouldn't be doing that? Like, with
Right, but the
teachers
question
against each other?
is it good to have that policy in place where it could happen? I mean,
Well-
I'm not thinking that somebody's going to do that, but overall, generally speaking, should the board police something
Yeah,
like that?
I'm not a huge fan of.
The only thing I can say is that the original policy, I think the, DEA maybe felt that that was overreaching. The new language, everybody was pretty comfortable with, and it is the recommendation of our school attorney that we have a policy in place. I don't know how many schools also have policies, but several of the ones that our attorney works with, they do have these policies in place, whether it's his handwritten policy or the press policy, they do have something in place. And so I guess from the standpoint of protecting the district, if our attorney is advising it, and we've already met with the DEA, and they have, agreed that, it's something that we can have in place. It's a guideline. It's not something that we're now going to, micromanage and go out and try to police anyone or anyone's social media, but it does somewhat protect the district and protect our students, and it puts in some form that there is something written that we have in place. So,
But our students are already protected by the other policies,
right, but it's
correct?
protecting the staff from using student names or situations or things like that.
But that's already protected, right?
Right, but this policy, I'm not going to argue the point. Our attorney has advised it, and to Beth's point, a lot of the things that are in it are somewhere else. But this puts it in one form, and this is what's advised for a
It's all in one
district to
place.
have. Right.
So there's no question,
Exactly.
having the employees have to go look at all these different, they got to get online and look at, this act and, and this policy, and it all comes together, just so it's clear. And we have the best interest of our kids.
And so the
at heart.
DEA gave the go-ahead that they could live, we always said we can live with it, or they were accepting of it?
It was a very quick, cordial meeting.
Right, with the
And
press
so,
policy,
would
not
it
the
help?
first
Oh,
one.
I'm sorry.
Would
Would
this
One that's in your packet.
Right.
Yeah, would it be helpful, when I was going through the notes, it said each board may then want to have a conversation with the superintendent and direct him or her to develop a curriculum, which I'm assuming we already have as an in-service at the beginning of the year, just to maintain boundaries, appropriate, professional, and ethical, being ethical with students. Could we see that? Maybe that would give everyone a clear understanding of,
You can do something.
is it beneficial at all? Would board members want to see that?
See
Or
what?
no?
It'll be done through Public School Works.
What's that?
Just educating.
That's how we do our staff development, yeah.
How we do our staff.
So,
Staff
but as
So number 2 says, choose a district-provided or supportive method whenever possible to communicate with students and their parents or guardians. I just worry about people using their personal phones so much now today, especially those who are sponsors and coaches, at sporting events, taking a picture. That's to me, that's not a district-provided or supportive method, is it? Their phone?
Right, but it's not
I don't think
prohibited.
anybody's saying they can't take a
right.
picture, though.
They can't take a picture. The point of
But it says whenever possible,
Right.
so.
But if you don't have if you're in an event and you can either use your phone or nothing, whenever possible means you can use your phone.
Right.
and wouldn't you also say that this also includes, it's the method?
Yeah.
I mean, when I read it, so say Coach Friedman is at a cross-country meet and he takes a picture of the team at the finish line first, and they got second at state, and he says congratulations to the team, he's using Twitter, but that's a Dunlap method, that's a Dunlap site.
That would
It's
be
not
fine.
his personal Twitter,
It just defines personal technology as any device that is not owned or leased by the district. So,
But you
if
were
it
talking about
wasn't
number
there,
2.
it's not possible. So I guess.
Right, yeah, both are covered. Yes, I see what you're
Yeah.
saying, but it's in no way prohibiting that.
Say they were writing a report on what the results were from a sporting event, they could use their, their district-supported computer to do that, but it would be so much handier to use their phone.
Yes, and our purpose behind this isn't so much for them to not use their phone, but to use their district-supported account, so that it's going through their district-supported Facebook, their district
And
Twitter,
so
their
maybe it
district
should
email.
say-
Like, I use my phone all the time, but I do it through my district email. I don't communicate through my personal email for anything that's school business.
Okay.
Is this, if this is adopted, would it change anything that they're currently doing now?
No.
Everything would
Well, I mean,
still be the same?
do they not have, I would think they're using their phone from time to time throughout the school day, are they not? I mean, to me, this says
They
that,
can use their phone on their preps.
but I mean, it says you're not supposed to do personal things. And I mean, kids do it at the school. We're not supposed to have phones at the high school and kids are using them all the time. I just think it gets to an area where we're putting these restrictions on that I don't really know that, I think it's kind of a common sense deal because I think people are going to have their phones and doing stuff here and there.
And I think it's common sense, but what policy does, and what I think what Jay would tell you, is that if for some reason someone's not using common sense or there is an issue, the board has what they need to be able to address it, rather than not having anything set in policy as far as what the expectations are. I know I don't have time in my day to police or look after when somebody is or isn't on their phone or whatever, but I mean, it's the expectation that personal cell phones or personal devices are being used during the school day for personal business. Does it happen? Absolutely, but that's the expectation. And
There's part of the Illinois school code in here too that says that it's an optional sentence that you can use, it just says that the board can monitor. It doesn't say that they are or they will. Just to your point, if something
I mean, the
would
worry is,
occur.
it's just a worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, somebody doesn't like some teacher and you want to get rid of them for some other reason and you go on their Facebook or go on something and try to find some reason.
I would certainly hope that they would
Well, of course.
good judgment
Right.
and, even other teachers or their principal, even us as a board, I would hope that we would say, okay, no.
Right, of course you would want that. I'm just saying that would be the worst case.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah. Also, on the other policy, the second new one, employee websites, blogs, social networking, and other Web 2 technology, it says, include a disclaimer on your site, make it clear to readers that the views you express are yours alone. Does that include social, it says social media above.
it means their social media, like their school social media, like if they have a classroom page and they're talking about their own personal views, they should be. It's not, their view is not necessarily.
So
the
where does
school's
it say that it's only their school social media?
Because it's a school policy.
But I'm just not sure that it narrows it to that.
So I'm going to kind of shift this a little bit over to amongst board members, like with a page that we have, if there's I know we have that Dunlap school page, an individual, that would be somewhere that, this would be placed on our own accounts, right?
That it would what?
Be placed on our own accounts, we should probably
As a
follow.
You're not an employee.
Right.
You're not
Oh,
an
yeah, well,
employee.
yeah, you're right, yeah.
You're not an employee, so this policy doesn't cover.
Yeah, no, that's right, sorry.
But, okay, so everybody's clear that, we've had the meeting, this has been discussed, there were two policies that were presented, right? The second policy was what the DEA was in agreement with, which is the press policy, which is probably what the majority of school districts that have a policy have, and this is what our school attorney has recommended. Is there anyone who has anything to say against that going forward? Because we're probably not going to wordsmith it here tonight.
Oh, okay.
So,
I think it's too general. I think it's too much oversight.
Okay, and this is, I think this is more.
And I'm trying to ask the questions about it, so it may
than the
not
first
be.
one.
But I did totally objected to the first one. So, but I also object to this one.
Okay, so we have a majority that are okay with moving forward with the press policy of this policy.
Yeah, I think it's a little, for me, I'm not a huge fan of the police on this, so.
So you're a no?
Yeah.
Teresa, are you comfortable? Beth, are you comfortable having a policy?
I am okay, but I just want to, caution us that, we're not going to be out there policing and looking. I mean, and I think we all agree with that. And so I just want to make sure that Karen and Brian know that. That's how I feel.
Okay.
I'm fine with Chris.
The policy does not mean, implementing, very reinforcing, right? This is the guideline, right? Keep saying this is guideline and expectation. It's better than no policy.
Particularly if there's an egregious situation and you need to take action, and you can think of worst case, and then they say, they sue you because they say, well, there's no rule.
So isn't it already covered? I mean, what isn't covered that is already covered?
Well, this puts it in one place, and this is
No,
what's
but I know,
recommended.
what is covered?
We no one's taking the time to go through every single item, I don't think, unless Karen, you know off the top of your head. And
I mean, I'd just like to know why it's needed.
Well, can you send us a link just to the site that'll show us what is covered?
Yeah, or perhaps we can have Jay Greening write something as to
About
why
have him write his legal opinion as to why we need a social media
right, because
policy.
he has recommended it, so I'm not going to personally step on that. I don't know about anybody else, but I think we have at least 5 who are moving forward. So the next thing we want to discuss here, while we're talking about social media policy, is that we did receive a complaint, and I had sent out a message to the board that we would discuss this here at the board table. And can I read a little bit of this? Sure. Okay. I'm just going to read a little bit of this. The DEA has received concerns from several members about posts and comments made on social media that have been perceived as unprofessional or demeaning of other board members or activities in the district. With the adoption of the new social media policy for staff, we are questioning how the professionalism of our comments or posts may be measured when compared to those of board members. And there was some supporting documentation that was attached, and it just says, we acknowledge that members of the Board of Education are not staff, and the policy does not apply to them. However, we would ask that there be a good faith discussion held at the board table to determine how we can all work to publicly portray the district and one another in ways that are positive and constructive. I'll just make a few comments and I'll open this up to anybody who wants to add anything in, but, to the comments that were said here today about, common sense and, operating with a sense of purpose and doing things that would make us be in the position as leaders, right? We are leaders of this district and we should set the example for others to follow. So while we're implementing policies, which are obviously we're being guided by our school district attorney to do this, in that same light, we need to hold ourselves to that same standard as board members of this district. And, going forward, I just think it's very important that, just as you were saying, Beth, that we don't want people to be going out and nitpicking and looking, but people are watching, and they are watching what we do, and they are watching what we say and what we post. And I think even if you try to put that yourself aside and say, I'm not in the board member seat at that time, I'm doing this from our own personal, format, it's not that easy. You can't separate yourself from this seat. This is an elected position. You take an oath to hold this seat. And we need to be examples for others to follow. And so, I guess I know, there's been several things that have happened in the past, and I'm not a big social media person, so I don't get to see most of the things that are out there unless somebody brings it to me. But there have been multiple occasions where this has been brought to our attention. And I just think going forward, we need to be responsible, and we need to understand that it's not just something that we can put out and then you can take it away. Everyone's seeing this. Students are seeing this. Staff are seeing this. Other board members are seeing this information. And so we just have to be responsible. The same things that we're asking of our staff, the same expectations that we want from them, we have to try to uphold to ourselves. So if anybody else has any comments or concerns, I know you all received the same email.
So would that sort of line of emails be something that would be criticized of the staff if they put it on under this policy? Would it be like an infraction, or would it be a reason for action against the staff under this policy? The new policies.
But what I don't even follow, what examples are we referring to that would maybe?
There were examples in the email.
Like what?
Oh, okay, that was in the email.
The examples in the email that Dawn referred to?
I mean,
the supporting documentation.
What was in that email? Is that what she's referring to?
I guess.
I think Teresa was going to say something.
Would those
was
be
Karen's
included?
One second. Yeah, Karen's asking if that's something that, you're saying if staff did that.
Right.
What is being said that the board members did.
Right,
make
with a
those
picture
comments.
of, you know.
I guess
people
it's determined whether, what, you know, again, you're trying to figure out, even with the policy with the teachers, where does it cross the line? And the same with this, it's like, where do you cross the line? And it's just so vague to me. I just don't like either policy where we're having to be the free speech police or whatever against teachers or board members. To me, I just think goes back to I don't know if policies really will solve the issues.
Yeah, I agree with you. It may not solve it because nobody's going to be all constantly policing it, but I think it does put it on paper, and, you know, there's an expectation. There's an expectation that you acknowledge that you
No, but
want
I mean,
to be
I'm
careful
kind of
with
following
what you're
Karen's
saying.
point with what, you know, if it was the school teacher that did those things that are listed in the email, would those be infractions? I don't really think they would. And so, and again, you're getting into this where we're going to have meetings talking about, well, did they really violate or didn't they not? Whether it's a board member or teacher, to me, seems kind of, it sounds precarious to me.
Well, and it's not going to be something that's going to be easy. That's why I don't think anybody's going to be prepared or taking time to police it. But if something egregious does come forward, we do have something in place that's very much spelled out, and it's very much, you know, something that the attorney is recommending. Teresa, did you want to say something?
I was going to say, I don't want to use the word unfortunately, but, you know, either way, we are held to a higher standard. And anybody in political office knows that. And, you know, we're elected here. And I always go, and, you know, we say this in the corporate world too. Is it something you put out there, would you be okay with it being on the front page of the paper the next morning? Okay? So, I mean, we represent the district. And that's just from my, you know, we are held to a higher standard. We represent the district, and I just want to make sure that everyone understands that there are a lot of folks, a lot of people come to me and say, did you see what was out there? And I think everyone on this board has. So that's just from my perspective where I stand. I'm very cognizant about, you know, anything that I would post that would be, you know, out there socially. And I do think that the teachers, the administration, I don't know that we have any issues today on what's posted. It's basically, as Beth said, it's common sense, you know, so that's just where I'm at with that.
We discussed this several months ago. Regardless of the social media, right? When we say something, right, individually, it's very careful, because even if we're saying this is just my individual opinion, not as a board, but that will not be seen that by someone else's. So, and then we refer to that code of conduct of being a board member. It is extremely careful when we say personal opinion, not only on the social media, but even personally to other people.
And I guess I disagree on that. I think that every board member has a right to express their personal opinion. And I also think it's almost a duty when a member of the community asks, you know, say why you voted or what your position is on a proposal before the body. I think you should be honest and say what is your position. And so I think giving your personal opinion is an important and key communication tool for democracy.
And I don't disagree with anything you said.
I don't disagree either, but there is a potential consequence.
Well, absolutely.
So you have to look at both sides.
I think this is all good discussion, and it sounds like this, you know, would be a board retreat type kind of discussion like we had before. But if we're trying to fill an agenda topic instead of, I mean, we could talk about this all day long.
I think we have twice.
Yeah.
Right. Even with a facilitator, but we can do it again.
Sink in at some point after multiple conversations.
Yeah.
And it is something that we said we would have a discussion at this table, because this is an open board. It's not a closed room discussion unless we made it into something more than I think we want to and brought it into a closed room scheduled conversation. But again, Beth, any complaint that comes before the board, we will address, you know, as we've always done. And so this is something that we're already discussing the social media.
Absolutely agree. And since, you know, the board kind of governs itself, I think it's a great great topic to have with, Retha even when she's here.
Right, we've had it with her and we will have it again.
Yep.
Absolutely. I'll be bringing it forth myself as an agenda item for our retreat, which will be coming up. I think we actually have a date now,
May 24th.
So we'll have opportunity to let this sink in a little bit before we have that discussion. Were there any other comments before we move on? Any other policy concerns or questions regarding the new board policies or any revisions? Okay. All right.
Just one question on that policy 370 where it talks about the succession plan. Would it be nice to have a link there? Not the plan, but the actual graph, right? We have the flow chart of who's in charge. Yeah. Would that?
I think we talked about that.
We did.
We did.
I mean, would that be something nice to include? Okay.
All right, any other policy revision questions? Okay, the next item we have was the information regarding the contract with the Peoria County Sheriff's Office. That's the intergovernmental agreement for police services, and that was listed in your packet. Mrs. Beverly, anything that you want to speak on that? Pretty standard?
This is just the same standard contract that we have with Peoria County that pays for Deputy Butterfield, our school resource officer. It's just the one for the 17-18 school year.
All right. Okay, any questions? All right, we're moving to the next item, which is regarding future agenda items for the board to review. Did you receive anything? Okay, well, I don't think we have anything this week, but we will be having the retreat May 24th. So if you have any agenda items, anything that you'd like to have added as a retreat discussion, please send it.
Are we going to have a separate where we're going to send you what we want to have on the agenda, not
When it gets a
necessarily
little
tonight?
closer.
So we get
Exactly. Yeah.
helps them prepared for that. So.
And that's an open meeting, right?
No, that will be a closed meeting.
Oh,
because
yeah,
we'll have
we
a
have the
rep.
rep.
We'll have a rep there from the School Board Association.
But you'll send us an email what day we need
Absolutely.
agenda items, what I want to
Exactly.
talk about.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, the next item we have then, we're going to actually conclude the information discussion segment of the meeting and move into the consent agenda. And were there any questions or any concerns? If not, I'll ask for a motion.
I just had a comment, I think, on the Maxim Healthcare. I know we have an out clause in it, but just their increase is 3% annually. Just that seemed to be high, but you get an out in it, so it's not a big deal. But just in case.
Any other questions or clarifications regarding anything on the consent agenda? Okay, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented for the April 19th, 2017 Board of Education meeting.
Let me have a second. Okay, we have Teresa with the motion and Cheryl with the second. Now we can have
I'm
discussion.
sorry, I got mixed up. It's fine. I didn't have a question.
Okay. Okay, so any other discussion? All right, roll call vote, please.
Blue.
Aye.
Bozeman.
Aye.
Disharum.
Aye.
Posthauser.
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Reed.
Aye.
Gowan.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Thank you. All right, we're now moving to the action item segment of the meeting, and the first thing we have on the list is the bill list and treasurer's report that was in your packet, and Mrs. Beverly is here to answer any questions you might have. Mrs. Beverly, anything that's standing
Just a
out?
quick question. So we were kind of talking about the investments and where you're at with the reserve, the actual reserve fund, the checking account. You're going to look into some options for us. I don't know where.
Yes, you mean as far as for the cash on hand reserves, I have, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
The CDs?
Well,
I actually,
not necessarily. I think our reserve dollars, we were holding a bunch of money in the checking account, which is actually
You're
technically
talking-
reserves, but we
Correct.
don't have any investment funds. And then we had the other money that we were sitting in some checking accounts, I believe.
yes. So what he's referring to is the, when we talk about reserves, some of the money that would be reserves is not in Schwab at this point. It hasn't been moved into Schwab. So at the end of this fiscal year, we will move the reserves that we don't necessarily need easy access to if we need it into Schwab. And David Wynn will invest those funds for the education fund. And then the cash on hand for all of the funds, education and all of the other funds that we have, I will put into CDs and treasury bonds to be able to pull more interest on those for our cash on hand that we'll actually need to use for operating the district, but we can access some higher interest rates in the short term.
So
And again, go ahead, sorry.
How much is in the savings account that's reserves that's not in the investment account?
Currently, right now, there's about, I think it's about 4 million. When Brian and I looked at it, we're looking at 3.5 to 4 million that will be moved into the Schwab account. That is true reserves.
And I think, if you want to just, I'm going to challenge your memory here, because mine's gone, but wasn't it like 2.9 million that we actually put, or technically reserves in last year?
Yes.
The year before was like 2.4, 2.2?
Yes.
So the last 3 years, we've actually been in the 2 million plus, but only portions of that have went in the reserve, have stayed in the savings or checks.
It's stayed in, yes, so it's still in
And we're
reserve.
yes.
It's still in reserves, but
But we're
it's
looking to
not
move
in
that
Schwab. We're moving
away
that
into reserves.
Into
In
Schwab.
And so how do you determine how much you keep versus how much you put in the investment?
What I'm going to do is, based on the end of the year, what we have prior to taxes coming in, or before the taxes come in at the end of the year, those would be considered reserves.
So all of it?
So that money I'm going to put into reserves, and then the money that comes in from taxes in June and then through September, we're going to put into short-term investments, which is considered the cash on hand.
And the Schwab account is returning what kind of interest right now collectively?
It's about 7-8%.
So if we move 4 million in at 8%, I mean, that's about 320 grand extra money a year.
Oh my gosh. So how long have we had this money in the savings account?
It's a little bit, there, probably 2 to 3 years as far, not all of it, but it's getting interest in the savings account. It's just not getting as much as it will.
Right. How much? What's the savings account?
The savings account is the holding account that we have.
No, I mean how much interest, sorry.
Probably 0.5%.
Oh,
So we stand to gain about 6% at least, maybe on 240 at least,
oh my gosh.
right?
It's great.
Very good work. I just want to say, Karen, thank you so much for all your hard work and effort. At the bottom of your summary, you listed 9 items that you saw as district improvements on efficiency and saving money and, providing the district with financial stability. And the fact that you're doing the refinancing for $160,000, going back to taxpayers, and the Education Foundation received its first donation. Can you share with us any information on that?
Yeah, we've actually, since I wrote that, we've actually received 3 donations.
Great.
One is a sponsor specifically for our color run for education that we're doing in November, and that was for $5,000. And then we got 2 more donations just from community members this week in smaller amounts, but we're moving forward. We have everything kind of coming into place as far as actually being able to raise money. We've been working the foundation board and the students, and I have been working to kind of pull it all together, bring it together. We had a meeting last week to really pull together the final wording for the mission. It's been very important to the foundation board that it shows the link between the district and the foundation and the community. So we're trying to figure out how we can pull it all together and make sure that everybody sees us, that we're working as one. So.
I noticed this in my email today, but the budget is tracking very nicely, so good job of that.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to thank Brian for, he came up with the idea of, putting the money in a different place to get this interest, higher level of interest from us, which will save us hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I just, on behalf of the district and our students and everybody, thanks for catching that. It's a great thing.
Very good. Thank you so much. Okay, then if there's no other questions, I'll ask for a motion to approve the bills.
I move to approve payment of the bills in the amount of $3,200,854.51 as presented.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Teresa. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Bozeman.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Posthauser.
Aye.
Park.
Aye.
Reed. Aye. Zawin.
Aye.
Booth.
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Thank you. The district investment report is available in your packet for review, and Mr. Nguyen is with us this evening. If you have any questions or concerns, Mr. Nguyen, anything you want to share with us?
be shared next month, potentially, might be more pertinent, unless anyone has any questions.
Okay.
Just a quick question, Karen. So withdrawal out of the Schwab account, that's not very difficult if you needed to withdraw money out?
No, David, you can speak to, as far as withdrawing money from the Schwab account, we can access that. You've got it layered so that if we need it, you've got access to it.
Obviously, the amount helps to know in advance.
But how far in advance?
I mean, it kind of, I want to give you a solid answer.
Like, is it 3 months, 6 months? If we saw a projected deficit coming.
A couple weeks to 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
I mean, somewhere in that range.
I think the amount that we might need would matter more
Yeah.
than the amount of time that it would.
Right.
Okay.
That would matter.
I mean, the more advanced notice you have, the easier it is. At the same time, you know, in an emergency, just a couple of weeks or something like that line, and we have to just kind of see what the outcome of that would be, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So it's fair.
So it's not necessarily tied up in T-bills that you can't get at or whatever. It's like in bonds and investments. You can pull that back.
Do you want me to clarify that a little bit?
We can wait till next time if you want.
You want me to get up there, or is this?
I just want to make sure if we do run into an issue, we take this money, we put it in there, that we can get at it without some penalties.
There's an emergency. It can all be liquidated in 3 days.
Okay.
So
That's all I
in
know.
that regard, whether or not because of the movement of interest rates, things might be at a gain or a loss. Okay, so in that sense, you know, but given the income that's been generated on that, you know, the losses are somewhat relative, just because the income over time has generated so much that there is no real loss.
There's no cost penalty, no fee.
Right.
Getting them. Okay.
No,
We're good.
But you could have some bonds underwater.
Yeah.
By a little bit, just because of interest rate movements.
Gotcha.
But I don't know what the impact that might be.
Okay. Thanks, Dave.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Nguyen. All right, the next thing we have is information regarding the resolution for the Chromebook lease through Commerce Bank. That was in your board packet for review, and Mrs. Beverlin's here to answer any questions you have in regards to the Chromebook lease. Anybody? No? Okay. All right.
I just wanted to explain that I'm going to be voting no, just to be consistent with this, and I'm concerned about the spending on the whole one-to-one, so I'm going to vote no.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, I'll ask for a motion to approve the resolution for the Chromebook lease through Commerce Bank as presented.
I move to approve the resolution for the Chromebook lease through Commerce Bank as presented. Second.
All right, thank you, Beth, and thank you, Cheryl. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Fisher?
No.
Posthauser?
Aye.
Park?
Aye.
Reed? Aye. Zawin?
Aye.
Luce?
Aye.
Postman?
Aye. Motion carried. Thank you. For the next item we have, well, actually, that is our last item for this. So we'll go ahead and conclude the action item segment of the meeting, and the board will now move into closed session. Can I please have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
I move to adjourn to closed session for the following purposes as stated in the Open Meetings Act: student discipline cases, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance or dismissal of specific employees, and discussion of minutes of meetings lawfully closed.
Second.
All right, thank you, Cheryl, and thank you, Paul. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Posthauser?
Aye.
Park?
Aye.
Reed? Aye. Zawin?
Aye.
Luce?
Aye.
Postman?
Aye.
Fisher?
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Thank you. Thank you all for coming.